Yeah, I added an additional screen at the top for like a slide for when I start. So we need an image there.
We need an image there?
Because I'm going to be speaking just with the image of water here in the back. Something like that. Just the image or... yeah.
This is too extra.
Do it.
Yeah, you think yes?
Whatever. Yeah.
And then we can put the Locust logo on Otro Inventario. Do you have the Otro logo?
I'm in a post with a new race.
Oh, yay, thank you. Could you just really quickly send over
Unfortunate fail.
Is this here for any particular reason?
just for the laptops.
Okay.
I hold that there. Okay. Is it in white? And you sent it through Gmail, babe?
So we're doing an hour and cutting it at an hour completely, right?
Okay, yeah. Word. Feels good. You have the mouse. This mouse should be able to. Interesting. We may need to go back down.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Oh my god, that's a raw iPhone.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, that's why I had it there. I love that raw iPhone.
Wow, that was scary. And then I wonder if we let's chill.
Time, baby.
Time.
So sorry about that.
Yeah.
Versus.
I'm gonna take a deep breather so the other leg calms down. Because that's the other thing. If you get like that, it gets dry. Where's my water too? That's what I keep. I need my water. Let me go get it. Everyone should get water. Whatever you want. Like how many more These are much higher. Yeah. Pretty precarious. Okay, 2 more minutes. And the Bluetooth is live and connected now. The speaker. Yeah. Hello, hello, hello. Okay, we're live. Bring her over. 7:15. Yeah. Okay, we're about to get started. Settle in. Okay, thank you everybody for joining us. Welcome to Locust Projects. I am excited, very excited, a little bit of adrenaline rush for us to get deeper into the discussion of this exhibition on Herramientas, Levels and Process, which has inspired tonight's program on world building in the age of AI. I would like to welcome and thank our speakers, Leo Castañeda and Laurie Monzon, for this amazing multi-year project. Yeah, this multi-year video game project has been going on for almost 15 years, 14 or 13, 14 and some. And they've made this video game, they've been working on it, and they've created this prototype for this exhibition to show with all of you as a collaboration with Otro Inventario, which is an art house video game studio that uses principles of sustainability and interdependence to expand world building possibilities, and basically the first of its kind in Miami. So this is also really special. And thank you for inviting me to moderate you guys and I'll be providing a little bit of a context for the show to begin with. Then Leo will talk, and then Lauren will talk. We'll probably do all of that in about 25 minutes. Then we're going to open it up to collaborators who've been also working on world building with AI or using AI and tech as part of their world building processes, and we're going to hear from them. And then we're going to have a little bit of minutes, so we'll have a conversation, and all of that should be about an hour. And then we have an hour of drinks and discussion and experiencing the VR or the video games the entirety of the show. Hope you enjoy it. I am Laurie Rojas. I'm an art critic that I recently moved from Berlin here. I lived in Europe for the last 10 years. I'm very new to Miami, but I have family here. I am also Locust Projects consultant for grants and programs like this one. I'm also one of the founders of Sasrua magazine. It's an art, criticism, and poetry publication established in 2016, and we can talk about that at another point, but I also wanted to let you know about that. Tonight we have, like I said, an hour-long program, and you will get a chance to play the video games prologue, experience the exhibition, which is very much designed to provide you a very rich introduction to the evolution of the game from oil paintings and wall drawings of the artists to virtual reality experiences, bespoke furniture like the one that I'm sitting in, and the carpets, and this impressive large-scale projection, immersive, that you've only seen kind of half of it now, but then you'll be able to see the whole thing once the presentation is done. I also encourage you to pick up the gallery notes, but I just need to say that this is a groundbreaking video game because it appends traditional archetypes of games of bosses and adversaries, while also being a non-linear exploration of science fiction-inspired levels. It has a broad range of interdependent abilities, such as camouflage, vibrational touch, terraforming, and laser communication. I would like to hear more about those. But I really think that it completely pushes the boundaries of independent video game industry, but also the use of AI in digital art practice. Here's a little bit of my sense on artificial intelligence, which I hope that will be part of our conversation. Artificial intelligence has become a fiercely debated topic, ripe with ambivalences. Fears and optimism abound, from Terminator movies, Skynet level, Judgment Days, to Nick Bostrom speaking of AI as a form of collective, modular intelligence for species being. The suggestion being that the implications of AI on our society are comparable to the Neolithic revolution 10,000 years ago. If we assume computers, and by extension AI, as primarily an aesthetic tool, we are seeing the development of a new kind of dynamic artist, those artists who make fully aesthetic the social medium of an increasingly interactive internet. And video game culture has even fostered its own kind of avant-garde self-criticism that can't help but recall Schiller's Play Drive. AI has firmly established itself here to stay more generally in society, and so now artists begin to mine AI culture. And rightly so. The artists of the early 21st century that will be remembered are those that reflect and advance culture more generally, for better or for worse. Its role in setting the next stage for a new generation of artists was featured recently in The Atlantic with an article on the birth of a new aesthetic medium. Expect AI to go the way of Warhol. Just as good to know what's happening on mainstream media, and like this is a reception of like a big publication. There's also the course of history of purely aesthetic interest in AI. For instance, the original idea of experimental music. No, not play it. I'll play one other. For instance, the original idea of experimental music was the design of systems that are unpredictable, self-generating, and seem to compose themselves. For the past half-century, the most interesting strain of experimental music has become an increasingly intertwined with algorithmic principles, now developing an explicit algorithmic music movements, live coding, modular synths, etc. The English electronic music duo Otto recently revealed that their music is no more of an artificial intelligent collaborator than music per se, while composer and avant pop musician Holly Herndon is creating music with a thinking AI that she has developed over the course of several years, and so on. She just released a very popular cover of Dolly Parton's Jolene with the AI she has named Holly Plus. And I wanted to play you. I'm a 90s kid at the end of the day, and this for me is like a really good setup. Ooh, do we get sound? That's good. The video visuals are meant to illustrate directly what's happening with the music, but it gives you a sense. I think aesthetically they're linked to a lot of Leo's work. And I'm going to be showing you a few pieces that basically 5 artists and works that I think set up Otro Inventario's work of this game quite interesting. Thank you. No, I gotta stop it. Okay, so as contemporary art struggles to grip the masses, fringe elements begin to claim culture. But what is even rarer but inevitable development is the marriage of AI with video games. Approximately 3.4 billion people are gamers across the world. 3.24 billion, sorry. That's over 3 billion people, and it's growing. Last year it was like 2.9, so like it's just growing exponentially every single year. So this niche pastime has become the biggest mass phenomenon of our time, meaning video games. In the words of Hans Ulrich Obrist, video games are to the 21st century what movies were to the 20th century and what novels were to the 19th century. Ideally, I know Leo and Lauren and Otro Inventario believe that Levels and Bosses will become a conceptual art mass market video game. So before I end this introduction, I want to briefly revisit various ways in which artists have interacted with video games and made them into an art form. This is far from a comprehensive list, and I'm not very getting into much detail, but I just want to like offer some food for thought on the history of digital art, particularly with regards to video games and AI and the internet. So these are works that I've experienced in one way or the other IRL. And so those are the focus. I'd like to focus on artworks that I've actually experienced. So there might be important pieces missing, but it's because I'd rather speak about artworks that I actually have some sort of experience with. Then, you know, and basically these are 5 things that I consider important antecedents to this work. Jody. How many of you have learned, or yeah, no, Jody? Obviously quite a few, maybe not. Okay. Jody pioneered web art in the mid-1990s. This is the early web video game that I know of, or at least web art that was based on a video game that was hacked. The duo, which is based in the Netherlands, was amongst the first artists to investigate and subvert conventions of the internet, of computer games, and of video games as well. Radically disrupting these systems, including the interfaces, the commands, the arrows, the code, Jody stages extreme digital interventions that destabilize the relationship between computer technology and its users. Untitled Game was made just as the game modifications, mods, began to gain widespread recognition as an art form unto itself. Jody made the piece by altering the graphics code of the computer game Quake. Now, I'm going to play a little bit of this as well. So their mods reduce the complex graphics of the game and instead put a complex soundscapes on top of it. Maybe I'll move a little forward. It's like the start. So you have this very sort of minimal glitchy visual with some very complex sounds mixed into it. It's a bit of it confusing. It's a very enigmatic work for people to this day, several decades later. Oh. I'm not going to play it all, but wanted to give you a sense of it. So Jody takes this principle to an extreme by completely erasing every graphic element of the game and turning the monsters, the characters, and the backgrounds all to white, and the more psychedelic one, especially this one that I chose, features a swirling black and white background. Very much like Opart and Glitchart had an angry love child. This is just like one of those very important works. Now, I feel like can't have this conversation without Laurie Archangel. I also thought it was very important to just briefly showcase, these are shots of like two different video games. First is Space Invader from 2004. We're doing a little bit of a leap forward to the 2000s now. And the Super Mario Bros.
Actually, I'm going to take off some. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it's important to the intro. As the video game grows old, its internal content begins to deteriorate. So of course, there's a conceptual framework behind the piece, and he takes Super Mario's game and then just leaves. Basically. Oh. You're like, is that intentional? No, it isn't. I wanted to show you the clouds a bit. And of course, all of these are clips from YouTube that you can also look up if you want to spend some time. Okay, so now Space Invaders is a modification of Atari's late 1970s shoot-up Space Invaders game, which was instrumental in popularizing video games for home consoles. In the original version, the players get to basically attempt to fend off attacking aliens who are about to land on Earth. If the players are hit by an alien, they lose a life. In this early computer game created in color, the alien invaders move from left to right along a horizontal line, progressively moving downwards, getting even closer to the player position at the bottom of the screen. In collaboration with Alex Galloway, a member of Radical Software Group, Archangel hacked the game's program code in 2004, altering the game module so that in the modified version, all the aliens have been deleted except one, which has instead inherited all the invaders' ammunition, leaving the player with little chance to survive. So there's also, with these video games, not only the sense of like hacking the games, but also changing the fundamental resolution of the game. Any thoughts so far? Yes.
An honor to be next to these artists.
I just thought it would be really cool to showcase the evolution of things. Now, jumping forward to 2015, Ian Chang is, now we're looking more of like contemporaries to Leo's own work. This artist in particular, Ian Chang, he creates, he's been developing a practice of digital simulations. These are also super large scale, about the same size of the screen, actually maybe smaller, but they're really, really large scale immersive projections. His work explores opportunities offered by new technologies and the way they influence the consciousness and conditions of evolution. So like they also are basically developed with algorithms and they evolve themselves depending on certain kind of interactions that happen. So he is like kind of like the representative of this marriage of art and artificial intelligence to create these immersive simulations. So Emissary is a 3-series, the Emissaries trilogy. It's owned by MoMA, so they have some of the videos online. That's why I can't show it to you here. But these are stills from Emissary Force of Perfection. It's the second in the trilogy of these live simulations. For this project, Cheng has manipulated existing video game technology using algorithms to create unique visualizations that unfold unpredictably and have no predetermined outcome. The works, which are presented as immersive video projections, feature an interrelated cast of characters from robots to corgis and populates the same geographic locations across a long span of an imagined pre- and post-human history. I think also a component that relates to yours. Finally, not exactly a video game, but I really thought Simon Denny's work was important in the context of Leo's work, particularly because of the way of thinking of like, yes, gaming culture, appropriation of the culture industry, and thinking about artistic installation as and entering into this sort of corporate world and adapting the artworks that he's creating as critical and affirmative reflection on what's already happening in the wider cultural industry, in the wider tech industry, and bringing that back and giving it new form through his art. And I thought, when I walked into the space, that was really obvious to me, that like, also, right, the work of Simon Denny, which all of these, not all of these artists are my generation, but Simon Denny being an artist of my generation, of the post-internet generation, which a lot of artists don't want to use anymore, but I think it still had a moment, it was still quite significant. And yeah, that's pretty much also Leo's generation. And okay, so now we're gonna pass it on to Leo.
Oh, we have Lu Yang, right?
Oh my God. Last but not least, this was really actually
Can I share certain things?
Immersive technologies.
Before I play the clip, I'll actually read first. Lu Yang is a Shanghai-based multimedia artist that has become a force in the contemporary art world, producing immersive video works again that merge digital avatars, video game, and anime aesthetics with Buddhist theology and psychological inquiry. So this is a little clip from The Great Adventure of Material World, which resembles a conventionally gaming scenario where players have to pass through different levels and are confronted with paths in order to defeat a boss. It could be described as an accumulation of figures and scenarios encompassing depictions of hell, superheroes, deities, and death that Lu Yang has been engaging as an artist for years, and basically has condensed and like keeps reusing a lot of these characters, this language, these avatars. So under the guise of pop culture, that's the other like huge element that's really important in Lu Yang's work. Really, it engages the central themes of Mahayana Buddhism. So the video piece commandeers a religious text, complete with literal quotation. You get to see the Chinese and the English version at the bottom when I play it. And in the end of the material world, the knight encounters themselves as an opponent. So the meta level that's eventually reached during the video game is where the game reveals itself as an illusion, sharing the faith of players in both their own perceptions and linguistic concepts of what constitutes the real world. The game is successfully completed with the achieving of such an awareness. Okay, that's Lu Yang, and I can play the video. Has anybody seen this work live at all? Okay, I'll play it for a little bit then. So the task is to get the weapon of Indra, called the Vastra. That's the whole purpose of the game.
Yeah, this game is really rocks. We were in an exhibition in Switzerland proposal at the House of Electronic Kunst last year, and Liu Yang was in it with this game alongside her. So it's great to experience in person. It's such a particular aesthetic and feel to her work.
Okay, I'll leave it there. There's quite a lot of gameplay videos on Vimeo for her work. It's not that there's not a lot of stuff on YouTube, but she has a lot of it, and they have a lot of it in Vimeo. Okay, so how's everybody doing? Good. I'm going to pass it on to Leo. Leo was born in Cali, Colombia in 1988. He's a fine artist and video game designer living in Miami. He's melding gaming, painting, virtual reality, drawing, sculptural furniture, wearables. Castañeda's work and renders surreal post-human social structures and anatomies. For over 10 years, Castañeda has been developing the Levels and Bosses series using the Unreal Engine, I think this is very important, to create interconnected transmedia worlds that dissolve the boundary between analog and digital. Today, Level and Bosses culminates in an episodic video game and exhibition series that expands interaction design in gaming. I'm going to introduce Lauren, since Leo will do a presentation first, but they're going to have a bit of a back and forth as they do, being such collaborators. In 2021, Lauren Monzon co-founded Miami's first outhouse video game studio, Otro Inventario, with Leo Castañeda. Monzon was born in Miami in 1991. She brings 10 years of experience scaling film festivals and cultural organizations such as Third Horizon, raising millions for Miami startup cultural institutions through foundation, governmental, and corporate partnerships. Ooh. Monzon draws over 7 years producing key Miami independent films that have gone on to premiere at Sundance, screen at MoMA, win the Golden Bear at the Berlinale, and secure distribution from Criterion Collection. As a game developer, her work creating participatory budgeting games was featured in the 2022 Allied Media Conference with Restoring the Future. Okay, thank you guys. Up to you.
The microphone orb. Thank you, Laurie, for the introduction, and thank you all for coming. Thank you, Locust, for the opportunity to show here. Thank you, Lauren, for collaborating. Also, Edney, Sabrina. I think we have Sabio in the live stream. This exhibition has been the first opportunity to work. This exhibition has been the first opportunity to work as a team. Brittany as well, Maltext. And it's been awesome to kind of experience what it's like to go from an individual artist to like a gaming studio. So just gonna share a little bit of that process of being able to expand this project beyond what an individual could do into a whole collaborative experience.
Including collaborating with the AI.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so Levels and Bosses is aiming to be an episodic transmedia experience where it's going to be primarily a video game on PC and relationship spending, PlayStation, Xbox. The ideal is for it to be something that you go to a console and you play it, and then there's these live exhibitions like what we see here that correlate to the episodes launching and expanding into also having outreach into different conferences. So let's say like a tech conference or a gaming conference or a film festival. So like really figuring out like how to go beyond the traditional art space and traditional art audience has been part of the idea. And as Laurie mentioned, it basically gets that structure of progression systems in video games of going from one level to the next and expands it and reimagines what the possibilities of a level and boss could be through worlds that are identifiably interconnected, where you see the character looking like the landscape, looking like the technology, and sentience is shared across all beings to ideally, like really be able to identify with various aspects of the world. But wanted to show a little bit of a parallel to what Laurie was showing. Laurie wanted to show the art historical or the art world perspective of working with games, but I wanted to give a little intro to at least some of the games that we're looking at in terms of independent video games and one AAA video game that are pushing the artistic landscape of video games, and that hopefully the project that we're working on would be somewhere in between the Liu Yang, Cory Archangel world and something like this. So we have probably the most known one here is Journey by that game company, which is a California-based studio that when they were at USC, they got a contract with Sony to release 3 games, and they basically broke ground in what a independent video game could do in terms of audience reach. Like it was actually PlayStation Digital's like biggest selling game. Yeah, Dear Esther around the same time. I think Journey's 2012. Dear Esther around the same time. It's a first-person poetry-based experience. So you're basically a poet on an island walking around, and you experience the island in various ways. You have Hylix, that was actually made by a classmate of mine when I went to school in New York. So it was a very special experience to see that he was also getting into games, but it's basically this surreal adventure that where everything is made with clay. So if you download it, you'll see that things kind of look like lo-fi 3D models, but they're actually stop motion animated clay sculptures, and it's basically this RPG series, like role-playing game series, that's amazing. And speaking of role-playing, Undertale, I don't know if anyone has experienced Undertale, but it's also a role-playing game where you have violence as a choice. So basically, you can, once you start playing the game, if anyone has played a Japanese RPG or RPG, you enter this battle mode. And in the battle mode, you have the option to attack, but then it's the option of flirt or joke and things like that. And there's a pacifist mode, and it's basically become this really powerful experience for lots of people where in many video games, the default interactions have some kind of violence. And anyways, it's definitely super inspirational, and it's also cool to see the reception of how people don't necessarily want to, if the default interaction is to use something destructive or violent, it's not necessarily what people want to experience. And as a last example, one of the most violent games or violent series, period, which is the Dark Souls. If anyone has played Elden Ring recently, incredible experience of freedom and exploration in the world where, yes, you have the violence as a primary interaction, but it's really interesting to see people experience these games because they almost become religious experiences because they're so difficult, and they offer this sense of discovery through the level design that is unparalleled because of the worlds being super intertwined, like not knowing where one is going, a kind of abstract-ish subjective narrative where you kind of are interpreting the symbols that are around you, but they're not super clear, like if it was a TV show or something. I guess there could be a TV show that's also like that, but things are layered and interpreted. So
and you fail a lot. You learn mostly by failing a ton of times and keeping on trying.
But it's been interesting as we develop the game to kind of look at this kind of the overall landscape to see, okay, like I mean, I mean, to still do something unique, but also understand like what the lineage is. That includes Corey Archangel or Ian Chang, etc. But it's also coming from this side, from not necessarily the video gamer, the visual artist, but games that have been experienced by exponentially more people than I mean, unfortunately, most likely than, let's say, a Corey Archangel piece. Like, no offense, just as far as, like if you look at the numbers there, Journey, 2 to 5 million copies, Undertale, 3.7 million on Steam, Xbox 3 to 3, and these are indie artsy games that have, like the niche of the niche is millions of people. So
we were joking earlier that when a game doesn't do well, it's around 20,000 copies sold. And when you compare that to the reach of a visual art exhibition, being able to merge the two can actually be a really fruitful ground.
Just reaching. So just as a quick run through of some of the interactions that we're looking at. Basically, the Levels and Bosses encourages sustainability through its gameplay, not necessarily forcing it. So in a way, kind of like influenced by Undertale. So you have interactions such as camouflage, vibrational touch terraforming, different ways of using light and intensities of light to pass vibrational inputs to the world. You can glide. You have an awareness system that ranges from deep listening and actually becomes camouflage. So anyways, we're testing out a bunch of interaction types where you're really trying to engage and adapt to the landscape.
Unearthing these different observational and communication techniques to be able to shape the environments around you. Mm-hmm. Move to the next level, right?
Yes. And and basically, the process has been going since 2009, when I was still in my bachelor's program in New York at Cooper Union. Through a kind of artist block, I began the series of working with the structure of gaming. So it started with and almost like in a way, like kind of merging video game principles with art principles. So the first level, which is this kind of primordial explosion, was actually thinking of Corey Archangel Super Mario clouds, where you could jump on a cloud, or also just in Super Mario that you could jump on a cloud. You can't do that in real life, but in a video game you just add collision, and it's an arbitrary situation of what you can interact with and what you can't interact with. So that merged with romantic landscape painting, like Caspar David Friedrich, and also like some Latin American sci-fi. Surrealism and abstraction mixed in, and that was the first level, like one of 12 original levels. That then, looking at that as like, okay, well, this is the variable. Like, what are some other paintings that could be within that, of different worlds within that world? Then a comic book that you can see around. When you go back to the exhibit, you can see it around. And thinking of how that could expand into real life exhibitions and it was only like maybe 2013 when I started working with the digital program, so it was more like the hope of the digital at first, and then, all right, YouTube, let's go and learn Unreal, let's go and learn different Autodesk programs, but this kind of shows a little bit of the process, and I mean, for those that are in the live stream, this is just an image of the exhibition that you're in. So so after 13, almost 14 years of working on the project, we have this exhibition at Locust. It's called Herramientas, Levels and Bosses, like in Spanish for the tools. So where you basically see the underlying systems within the game of how the energy system came together. That I worked with Lauren like super hard on, like especially through Lauren's like language and economics background to like really hone in on like the exchanges of how this energy system would work. You have in the background this prototype for the pause menu as a home, and the prototype of this kind of game conference booth as an art exhibition. Yeah. And then in terms of AI, thanks to the programmer we're working with, the Glad scientist, or also Sabio, he got us an early key to DALL-E, and it's been amazing to basically exponentiate the amount of world building that one could do. I mean, drawing is great and language is great, but with the AI, like really trying to understand how to recreate the aesthetic of this kind of sci-fi Latin American surrealism meets alien worlds through words has been amazing. Yeah, and I'm sure you're all familiar with the tools already. You just type in the sentence and you can give a style of, and it's been a nice reflection of some of the early works, like being like Corey Archangel style, Super Mario Clouds in the style of romantic painting. But then nowadays it's like this, the image on the left was prototyping the pause menu, so it was something like Zelda Ocarina of Time pause menu in the style of Latin American surrealism meets Amazonian malocas, which are these multifamily homes. So like really trying to understand the influences and the essences of the work has been really great. And on the right, you have like there's some wearables in the room, and then with the AI, it was also like Dazzle Camo. Yeah, I think there was Dazzle Camo meets Poison Dart Frog, Poncho in the style of video games, Fashion Runway, Metal Gear Solid or something. So so like really, anyways, it's been pretty awesome to experiment with that. And yeah, I mean, yeah, you can just run through a few images. So yeah, some level design, some expanded chair design. So we're the Glorious could start covering. And yeah, it's been really cool to have this tool as a way to exponentially build like everyone's gonna be able to have. But yeah, and then the next level is like figuring out with all this content how to bring it back into this feedback loop of analog and digital that's been happening with the game. So paintings made from this, textures made of these going back into digital objects, like basically really looping and to be like a endless cycle between the computer and like the person and the team. So that's and speaking of team, we'll continue with Lauren.
So about 2 years ago, we got together and launched a fine art video game studio that uses principles of sustainability and community to expand world building possibilities in games. And this has really influenced the way that we use our tools also, right? From AI to technology as we develop the game. Eventually we hope to be a video game collective and production studio that helps cultivate local talent to building those local regional, pan-Caribbean, pan-Latin American video game economies here in our community too, and building sort of impossible projects. So as we look to some of the things we've done where you can see that influence of mutualism and community, this was actually the first game that our studio mocked up during a game jam with the Museo de la Tertulia in Cali, Colombia. And here you're going through and you're feeding a sculptural garden different seeds, water, and plants and nourishing them by listening to their needs. So the sort of ethos of mutualism to navigate these foreign alien landscapes is pretty central to a lot of the work that we do. Thank you, Laurie. And this is an example actually of a Niagara flocking system that we're using right now. We're prototyping an element for the first level where you can actually see the connection between what's all the different actors in the world to help guide you and understand the relationships between the player, environment, and different sentient actors in there. So this is one example of a tool that we're, continuously kind of workshopping to make the puzzles for the first level better, and so that you visually manifest the interconnections between all the players and the world around you. The hope being that if you can identify with the landscape, if the landscape looks like you, if you can see all the connections between it, does that actually begin to change how you interact with the world around you? And so on the back end, I think, thank you, Laurie. This is another example of how we're using AI and technologies like Unreal Engine 5 blueprints to manifest that interconnection. You can see the different abilities from vibrational touch to electromagnetic illumination and movement. We all have kind of accounted there based off of whenever you're colliding or interacting with a different entity in the world. So what you saw on the back end, this is what you saw on the front end, this is the back end. And then, as Leo was pointing to also, aesthetically, that same ethos of mutualism and these different labyrinths of collective belonging sort of mixed in with our regional landscape elements. These are some of my personal dollies, really inspired a lot by our foliage down here and the different ways. If you look at a banyan tree or a flamboyant tree, you can see those particles that are also colliding and interacting with each other in really mutualistic ways that through those feedback loops we can also continue to bring into the digital world. So yeah, these are also inspired by, these are mutualistic breezeway blocks actually.
What does that mean?
Inspired by tide pools. I guess, like when we're thinking about these neo-primordial worlds and different building blocks and pattern recognition, right? Like how do you identify the needs of the environment around you? A big part of the first, the gameplay overall that you'll see in the prologue in the first chapter is there's actually these actors that are singing to you what their needs are. Some want touch, some want lights, and some want dance, and they want those at various intensities. So when we're thinking about different patterns like these that you can generate to then look, as you saw those particle systems kind of flocking, right? The more you listen in the game, you'll be able to see those interconnections, and patterns like these might emerge that will tell you like, hey, I want to be touched with moderate intensity, or I want some flash, in different patterns to harmonize with. Awesome. These are some of those examples of future levels that we also hope to create, or environments for different games. These are based off of jacuzzis and collective belonging pools. And the hope is that, we could convert these into 3D models that also become wanderable landscapes. The dolly just really facilitates the sort of rapid prototyping of those. We can breeze through these. Some more examples. These are Caridad del Cobre inspired different forms of conflict resolution as well. Like a lot of the times I'll ask the AI to mirror itself or different sort of post-human interspecies hugs or forms of happiness, and really try to continue to build the abstraction and surrealism and connection all through there. And I think this is where it would be really great to invite some of our collaborators in and also talk about their process, how they're using AI in their world building. I know we have one of our collaborators here, Edney Jean Joseph, incredible designer, thinker, and artist. How is AI influencing your practice and how you're thinking about your tools?
AI is a weird a weird privilege to have as an artist, as it is basically the steroid to your creative capacity. You can come up with more ideas than you could have in a day. So like I'm just trying to find the balance of when I should stop generating and when I should start considering, because that's where the art is where you can keep considering and considering. But AI is a very cool tool. It's nothing that is any different than a paintbrush to me. It's just it produces more. So yeah, I've I guess to talk about my what I've done specifically with AI, I came up with this idea to generate basketball cards to see what it would do with the idea of, hey, what is the like my prompt was, what is the rarest basketball card or vintage basketball cards, and I came up with 960 of those, and their physical version. I had to generate. It was more than 960 actually. It was like 1,000 and something. Just figuring out what I liked, putting them into a folder, and then kind of being anti-algorithm AI because I could have left them in my folder in my computer, but I instead chose to make it a thing to cut them and make them into real cards. So I guess I was trying to be an artist again instead of a computer. So that's what I'm doing.
They're pretty awesome. Yeah, and you have like all these distortions that happen with the AI, and like combining all the source imagery of the different like thousands of thousands.
Yeah. The thing with AI too is that it doesn't really understand what it's trying to make most of the times exactly. So faces get weird, places get weird, all the nouns get weird. So it's I think we do have the technology to make it possible to make something perfect, but we are just making that, we're just slowing that down so that we're not making photorealistic images of things that could definitely hurt us. So right now this is a good middle ground in the creative space of AI.
Well, thank you.
Of course. See you guys somewhere else.
Yeah, that's the fun part about working in a studio, working with so many different collaborators. Everybody gets to bring their perspective to how they're managing these tools.
It's cool right here. Are you sure? No. Okay. Hi, I'm Sabrina. I've worked with Leo and Lauren for a hot minute now. My experience with AI is more of like in a film perspective. How AI has helped me is we're in a very new and volatile generation of tech where it's morphing at like an exponential rate. And I think a really great thing about that is the democratization of what we have access to. And like what Lauren and Leo had referenced before is the possibility of like Pan-American, Pan-Caribbean game design in Miami. And I see that translation in films. For example, I went to Florida State and I studied film over there. And a huge barrier to making films is having a crew, the money for equipment, getting licenses to film in a certain location. But if you're working with a software that creates simulations like Unreal Engine and you're working with AI, you kind of get to streamline a lot of those jobs. Like I know right now the automation of a lot of jobs is scary, but it could also lead the way to a lot more possibilities for people to take on, to have greater power to create like bigger projects. For example, I've been able to kind of condense the idea of communicating ideas through storyboarding through AI. So like, yeah, I could draw it, but now I can get a more precise, like, I want the lighting to look like this, or like I can make the composition very specific and communicate very complicated ideas while saving my time. So in a sense, it gives me more power as one person to thrive in that industry versus not having AI. That's all I got.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. You can all trade. Yeah, even one of the things Leo and I talk about too is with Dolly right now, there's static images, but there's already generators that through a prompt can already pull out video for you based off of what you've typed, and
3D models.
And 3D models coming very soon. Yeah.
Yeah. Is there anybody else? I know there's other people in here who use AI in their practice, and would love to hear from them too.
Yeah, Moises and Moises' partner definitely.
Yeah, here. Let's democratize the floor.
Maybe for that will come in.
Okay, yeah, now we're good.
Hola, my name is Moises Sanabria, and with my wife Fabiola Larios, we both work in AI art. I started like around 2018, and we both then started taking courses during the pandemic to learn about this stuff, but echoing the like 3D AI art generation or AI music. Like there's like a few models doing video now, and I think it's really cool to see Leo's work. We both went to the same school and stuff, so really amazing. I remember you talking about like level 1 as a painting, and then now seeing like an immersive installation. It's super cool, and how now you're using AI to like imagine further the levels. So I can't wait to see what you'll do with like sound, 3D, and even video, right? So yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm really open to imagining what's happening, and like as some of you said too, like how fast it's happening or how aware should we be just about creating with these things. It's pretty astounding, and even from like 2018, like it's gotten a lot faster in this year alone. Like there's just a lot more papers coming out and open source models and hacks in Photoshop, and I think TikTok has like an AI art thing they started trying with. So, you know, you'll have influencers that are purely generative, and it's getting wild, yeah.
So I think a big theme that's been implicit but not so explicit is the collaborations that like have been like really important for the work, Otro Inventario, but also sort of the scene is very collaborative. A lot of stuff, a lot of the works that I showed were done in collaborations with other people. Can you guys talk about that? And now Lisa, we can get on the thing as well. On like the role of collaboration and sort of maybe this component of like how fast things are moving because of technology and multiple people working in, or other components of collaboration that have become really important in getting into this work.
Yeah. Thank you, Moises.
Thank you, Moises. Cool shirt.
Yes. No, and as an aside, like yeah, Moises and Fabiola are doing amazing AI-based work, and it's just interesting to see that the AI work looks so similar to the pre-AI work. It's like everybody ends up finding their own style, almost like if we desire the images that we make already, and it just like any sets just makes them exponential, and then it's about the filtering. But yeah, in terms of the collaboration, yeah, like most video games or most technology projects are done in teams. It's the visual arts have this kind of singular artist situation, but yeah, in order to be able to make something like an independent video game, we're mirroring that structure that there's only so far that I could get with audio without being a musician. There's better musicians. There's only so far that we can get with the furniture design. So surface system, Eric Cloutier, met through some friends, amazing sculptor and fabricator, helped to make the chair. Edney and Brittany, amazing graphic designers, elevated the graphic design of the exhibit with the wall text and the logo, and it's cool to see like how the back and forth works, and then is Savio online?
We're having a little bit of trouble with the Zoom, but we should be able to bring him in soon. Yeah, that ethos of collaboration is so central to any media project. The National Endowment for the Arts actually came out with a study, I think it was last year, if not the year prior, where they talk about the ways that grassroots media artists are innovating new ways of collaborating. And I think that's especially true for Miami and places that are under-resourced, where we're constantly having to figure out how to hustle to make our projects. And in there, we're not only pooling labor and equipment, but we're also figuring out new ways for how to get this done, whether that's in collaboration with new tools or in collaboration with each other. And so that understanding of media arts as vehicles for civic, cultural, and economic innovation is something that really infuses the sort of ethos of our project and of our studio. You can, all over the place, grassroots media artists are innovating that, whether Jason over at Access Labs, who's pioneered whole new ways of even relating to our environment and accessibility. Do the physical places we go to have ramps, have other access features that can make it livable for everybody to just walk into, and you can rate that on an app. To Yusuf Mary's sort of hacking on paper installations that are these giant monumental sort of exhibits where you see Hugo Chavez's personal emails there for you to consider, right? They're these new forms of speaking culturally that are being innovated by our collaborations with AI and with each other. And I think that's really exciting.
I want to open up to the audience now. We've sort of set up like triangulation between my presentation on contemporary art practices or recent art practices that we're dealing with video games, or with different components of contemporary art practice that I think are precedents for this work. But we also talk about AI technology and what's happening there, but also with the video game industry. So that's kind of like this triangulation that we have with the work in Levels and Bosses. So I'm curious, and that's kind of like the goal of tonight. It was like sort of be able to sort of understand like these are different scenes with different backgrounds that often don't speak to each other, and it's kind of hard to get them to speak to each other, notoriously hard to get them to speak to each other. So any questions, comments from the audience? Go ahead. You speak loudly too.
Are all the AI the same, or is it like you get your own individual?
Well, you have your own profile, so it's like a Instagram almost, like, so yeah.
Oh yeah, I was also wondering what the software that you have to.
Yeah,
Dolly.
Dolly 2, which is now open, so it's widely available. Costs about 10 cents a search nowadays. There's also Stable Diffusion. It's a little bit cheaper, but yeah, they all kind of charge for their computational
storage.
Yeah, but it depends. I've seen it depends on the aesthetic that you have. I've seen some people where Stable Diffusion or Midjourney work better for their what they want to do, but for what we want to do, Dolly has been incredible. Like, it feels like it can handle more of the stacking of terms. So like kind of overloading it, where some AIs kind of feel like once you stack too many terms, they get confused or they simplify.
Yeah.
But that's just our experience with it.
Yeah, the the abstraction and emotions, I think, are a little bit better rendered in DALL-E than some of the other programs. But yeah, it does end up being like your own profile on all of these.
I would just say there's like dozens and dozens of models, and it's just how deep you want to go. Like you can just buy a car, or you can build your own. So you can be as aesthetically like for you. And there's just different kinds of models. Like some of them will be recommending things, while others are just you can like stack the you can like connect one model to another. Like, so it gets many tools in a way. Yeah.
Other questions from the audience?
Yeah, over here.
Take it
So
back.
as artists, you guys are only, do I have to speak into this?
Just like that.
Okay.
For the live speed.
All right. So as artists, do you guys only view AI as a tool to help you create, or do you see it as something that's going to completely take over like the creative process as an artist? Like, you know, because personally, like there's a process you go through when you create stuff with your hand, right? There's like it's like a thing, right? So if you're just typing in words into an AI program, it's just like, I feel like as an artist, you might get a little lazy, you know, just like type things in and it creates whatever you want it to create. But I want to know if you guys just view it as a tool or something that like later on you're just gonna do that only, like just create things through AI only.
For me, it's been so liberating. I come from a literature and economics background, so to have the power to render images that I can only think about but not produce is like everything to me. It's a whole new visual language. It's a whole new world I get to share with myself and my collaborators. And I think for that, you know, it's not necessarily taking over, but here to stay and continue adapting for sure.
I mean, it's going to take people's jobs for sure, and there's negatives and positives to that. But yeah, me as an artist, like, I'm scared to utilize AI. You know, maybe I'm just a loser or something, I don't know, but I like the torture that making things, you know. But whatever, that's just me. I don't know why.
Well, yeah, I would say test it, but it's also like Annie said, the back and forth of, because sometimes you might have a day or like a week that you make 900 images.
Yeah.
And then you might remember some, but some kind of get lost in like a dreamlike state of not having the time investment. But then you can go back in and like, you know, like expand that image, have that image be the basis of a composition for a 3D rendered space, or have it be the basis of a painting, or have it inspire something that you write. You know, like, yeah. I mean, that's the positive aspect of it. Of course, there's the expanded Google version of it, that if someone
Skynet.
yeah, they're extra understanding how our minds work through it, because it's like a very personal Google search. But yeah.
To piggyback off of that, do you ever feel like maybe AI is like a system and maybe it's connected to Fluxus or John Cage or like Chance?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I brought up Auditor at the beginning, the musician, the experimental musician, because like it was an early experiment on particularly using music as a medium for experimentation and the unexpected within music. That was like basically proto-algorithmic music from like 50 years ago, and that's coming out of like a post-John Cage branch for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Chance, because you're relying on the database and like what past images people have uploaded to that, or uploaded to the general internet, the hundreds of millions of images, and how the bias of the AI is gonna grab different words and give them extra weight or not. So yeah, definitely, it's very addicting, because it does feel like a slot machine of content.
Ooh. Wait, a new speaker, please.
I guess this comes from also not being super familiar with possibilities, but speaking to like
Lauren, calling it a language, a new language, like for you, does it feel limiting or strange at all that you're speaking to it with words and it's only coming back with images? And can you upload images to it? You can. Oh, okay.
Upload images, you can erase the background and create new ones, you can scale out to create, you know, more a view of the scene that has already been rendered. That's sort of more macro and like that. There's each software has like infinite tools that you can kind of collaborate with the images that it generates to make them more custom or tailored to what you want. I think even speaking to the role of chance, like you can make variations on an image that just slightly vary what's already been generated, and that it does almost, Leo and I joke, it feels almost like Instagram sometimes, like the healthier version of Instagram, because your brain is like getting those little micro uncertainty hits of like, okay, what's going to be generated? What's coming back to me? But it kind of, yeah, I don't know if that answered your question, Caroline.
Yeah, I mean, I was curious if you start with your artworks, you know, first.
I've tried it, but the uploading of the image doesn't look as good as remaking the art aesthetic through its influences, basically, through like the stacking of like in those first levels, like romantic landscape painting meets video games meets like it'll get closer to the desired aesthetic through words than through the uploaded image. I guess for now, with the current experience.
Yeah, maybe one day we'll be able to upload like a physical object, like just scan the object into DALL-E already. I mean, even
It's happening
yeah,
in our own way.
it is.
We've gone over the hour. We're a small enough group, and I think that, you know, there's wine, there's beer, there's even snacks to have. What we also wanted to make sure is that there was an hour presentation and then more with live DJ.
I think there's one question in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
So it's from Robbie 1, and it says, Leo, can you talk about your VR work and AI-generated reels inside interconnected metaverse, please?
So, metaverse question.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, the metaverse. If there's digital art as a precursor to art as games, and the precursor to NFTs, and it's a very sensible jump of a virtual world that has a layer of uniqueness to different things, and or what people talk about, the interoperability of being able to bounce around different universes. Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in, like, it would be awesome to have this whole Levels and Bosses universe as a metaverse. Yeah, like I'd be into it for sure. That you have a chair and then you scan the chair and you enter a virtual world, and then that links back to the game, and then that links to a VR space, that links to a wallpaper in your room, and they're all kind of identifiably interconnected worlds. Like one of the thematics that we're really pushing, like definitely open to it. As far as the current version of the metaverse, it's a longer conversation about NFTs that I have many layers of thoughts into. I don't know if we have enough time, but
Whole separate panel worth of.
But it's curious to have VR chat with exponentially more people not be considered a metaverse, or Fortnite be considered like proto metaverses, but then Decentraland with 50 people a day is a metaverse because there's land ownership. But the virtual spaces like VR chat, where people go and are with friends, and then they open up a portal and go to another world, like those are way more advanced in the feeling of a metaverse than the spaces that are claiming to be metaverses because of the ownership of scarcity quality. So I think that's something that has to be figured out. Like if in unlimited worlds, like if it is great to have scarcity or not, is scarcity something that pays us as artists because it gives extra value to the digital asset, and then we can live from digital assets. I think that's awesome. That's the precursor of that is Turbo Squid or the Unreal Engine marketplace, where you can buy digital assets that are unlimited. But yeah, here it's like giving that the art world framing of the limitedness into the digital. Anyways, I could keep going on it, but yeah, definitely open to it, but open but skeptical. But it's definitely, yeah, the more it builds and the more that there's AI, like giving people the ability to even type virtual worlds into existence as a evolution of DALL-E and the 3D modeling of AI softwares, like yeah, it's definitely, like, many people are saying that in 5-10 plus years you'll be able to type video games into existence or virtual worlds. So that as a metaverse is pretty interesting, like that we will all be able to create worlds as part of our like weekend plans. Yeah.
Yeah. Want to come over, Laurie?
Sure. Okay, I think that's an interesting note. Getting loud very soon. Hang out, have some drink, have some food, and let's keep the conversation going. Thank you very much. Turn on the DJ. Let's do it.
That's the thing about this is
I need to call software.
Okay, do you need me for anything? Do you want a drink? I'll grab one. Want a beer or wine? Are we live streaming?
Oh yeah, we should have this.
No, go. There you go.